Welcome back, everyone, to the English Proficiency Podcast. We are truly delighted to have you join us once again for another crucial session dedicated to enhancing your English language skills. In our previous episodes, we established the paramount importance of active listening, and then embarked on a comprehensive journey to navigate the diverse and fascinating world of English accents and dialects. Today, we shall build upon these foundational skills by focusing on an equally critical aspect of effective listening, identifying main ideas and extracting key details from spoken English.
Indeed. Imagine listening to a lecture, a news report, or even a lengthy conversation, without the ability to discern what is most important, the core message, and to identify the crucial supporting information. You can easily become overwhelmed, lose focus, or misunderstand the entire communication. This skill is not merely about understanding individual words. It is about grasping the overall message and the specific pieces of information that build and support it. It is about separating the signal from the noise.
This ability is not just vital for academic or professional settings, it permeates our daily lives. Whether you are listening to instructions from a colleague, understanding a doctor's explanation, or following a story told by a friend, your comprehension relies heavily on your capacity to pinpoint the central point and the significant facts that elaborate upon it. It is a fundamental cognitive skill that transcends language barriers, but it is particularly challenging when operating in a non-native language.
For English language learners, this skill is especially pertinent. When you are processing information in a second language, your cognitive load is higher. You might be focusing on vocabulary, grammar, or accent. Therefore, having a clear strategy to identify the main ideas and key details becomes an indispensable tool to manage this load and ensure effective learning and communication. It prevents you from feeling lost in a torrent of words.
So, what precisely do we mean by a main idea and key details in the context of listening? Let us define these terms clearly before we delve into the strategies. The main idea is the central, overarching point or message that the speaker is trying to convey. It is the core concept, the primary argument, or the most important piece of information. Think of it as the headline or the thesis statement of the spoken text. It is what the speaker wants you to remember most.
Conversely, key details are the specific pieces of information that support, explain, elaborate upon, or provide evidence for the main idea. These can include facts, statistics, examples, definitions, explanations, reasons, or steps in a process. They add depth, clarity, and credibility to the main idea. Without key details, a main idea might be vague or unconvincing. Together, the main idea and key details form the complete picture of the communication. Our aim today is to equip you with the methods to extract both effectively.
The importance of main ideas. Let us expand upon the profound importance of identifying the main idea. Why is pinpointing the central message so crucial for effective listening, particularly when you're learning English? Firstly, grasping the main idea provides you with a framework for understanding. It's like having a map for a complex journey. Once you know the primary destination, it becomes much easier to follow the individual roads and landmarks. Without this framework, details can appear as isolated bits of information, lacking coherence and context.
Secondly, identifying the main idea significantly aids memory and retention. Our brains are designed to remember concepts, not exhaustive lists of disconnected facts. When you can connect individual pieces of information back to a central theme, you create a more organized and meaningful structure in your mind. This makes the information easier to recall later. For students, this translates directly to better recall during examinations or when applying learned concepts.
Thirdly, understanding the main idea enables you to summarize effectively. The ability to concisely summarize spoken information is a hallmark of true comprehension. If you can articulate the main point of a lecture, a meeting, or conversation in just a few sentences, it demonstrates that you have truly processed and absorbed the core message, rather than simply having heard words passively. This is an invaluable skill for academic and professional success.
Fourthly, knowing the main idea helps you to filter out irrelevant information. In any spoken discourse, there is often extraneous detail, anecdotal evidence, or tangential comments that, while interesting, do not directly contribute to the central message. When you are clear about the main idea, you can more easily differentiate between what is essential and what is merely supplementary, preventing cognitive overload and maintaining focus.
Fifthly, identifying the main idea allows you to make inferences and draw conclusions. Once you understand the core argument, you are better equipped to read between the lines, to infer the speaker's true intentions or biases, and to draw logical conclusions based on the information presented. This moves your comprehension beyond surface-level understanding to a more sophisticated level of critical thinking.
There are generally a few types of main ideas you might encounter. Sometimes the main idea is explicitly stated, often at the beginning or end of a speech, a paragraph, or a segment of a broadcast. The speaker might use phrases like, "The main point I want to convey today is," or, "In conclusion, what you must remember is." These are clear signals.
At other times, the main idea might be implied. This means it's not directly stated, but is strongly suggested by the collection of details provided. In such cases, you must synthesize the supporting information to deduce the central message. This requires more active mental engagement and careful inference.
For English language learners, the challenge is compounded by the speed of natural speech and unfamiliar vocabulary or accents. Therefore, developing a systematic approach to pinpoint these core messages is not just helpful, it is absolutely indispensable for truly progressing your listening abilities beyond basic recognition. It empowers you to navigate complex auditory input with confidence.
Now that we understand the importance of main ideas, let us delve into concrete strategies for identifying them effectively in spoken English. Our first set of strategies focuses on pinpointing the topic and the overall purpose of the message. Before you even try to find a specific sentence, try to grasp the broad subject matter.
Think of it like this. If you were giving a title to the conversation or lecture, what would it be? What is the speaker talking about in general terms? Listen for key words or phrases that are repeated frequently. Repetition is a very strong indicator that a concept or subject is central to the speaker's message.
For example, if you hear words like climate change, global warming, carbon emissions, and renewable energy repeated throughout a segment, it is highly likely that the overall topic is environmental issues or specifically climate change. Your brain begins to build a conceptual map based on these recurring terms.
Another powerful strategy for identifying the topic is to pay close attention to the introduction or opening statements of a speech, lecture, or podcast episode. Speakers often state their main objective or topic very clearly at the outset to orient their audience. Phrases like, "Today we will discuss," or "Our focus for this session is," are strong signals.
Similarly, pay attention to any preview or outline the speaker provides at the beginning. If a speaker says, "First, we will cover the history, then the current challenges, and finally, potential solutions," this gives you a clear indication of the overarching topics that will be addressed, even if the specific main idea of each section is not yet revealed.
Beyond the topic, try to ascertain the speaker's overall purpose. Why are they speaking? Are they trying to inform you, persuade you, entertain you, instruct you, or perhaps express an opinion? Understanding the speaker's intent helps you interpret the information correctly and infer the main message more accurately.
For instance, if you're listening to a news report, the purpose is generally to inform. If you're listening to a political speech, the purpose is often to persuade. If you're listening to a tutorial, the purpose is to instruct. This overarching purpose colors the entire message and guides your interpretation of the main idea.
Ask yourself mental questions as you listen. What is the speaker mainly talking about? And why are they telling me this? These questions force your brain to actively seek the core of the message, rather than passively absorb individual words. This is particularly effective when the main idea is implied rather than explicitly stated.
This active mental engagement, even if you are not physically speaking, is a critical component of active listening. It prevents your mind from wandering and ensures you are constantly searching for meaning and purpose within the spoken text. It is a proactive approach to comprehension.
Remember that identifying the topic and purpose is the first crucial layer of understanding the main idea. Once you have a general sense of what the speaker is discussing and why, you are much better prepared to pinpoint the specific central argument or message they are conveying. This lays the groundwork for deeper comprehension.
Strategies for Identifying Main Ideas, Part 2. Building upon our initial strategies, let us explore further techniques for precisely identifying the main idea in spoken English. One highly effective method is to pay very close attention to specific signal words and phrases that often introduce or reinforce main ideas. Speakers, both consciously and unconsciously, use linguistic cues to highlight their most important points.
Listen carefully for phrases such as, "The most important thing is," "The key point here is," "What I want you to remember is," "In summary," "To sum up," "Therefore," "Consequently," "In conclusion," or "My main argument is." These are explicit signals that a central idea is either being presented or being reinforced.
Another powerful strategy involves recognizing repetition and restatement. Speakers often repeat their main idea or rephrase it in slightly different ways to ensure that their audience fully grasps its importance. If you hear a similar concept being expressed multiple times throughout a segment, it is a very strong indicator that it represents a core message.
This repetition might not be word-for-word identical. It could involve using synonyms or different grammatical structures to convey the same central concept. Your task as an active listener is to recognize these recurring themes and synthesize them into a single, cohesive main idea. This requires your active mental participation.
Additionally, pay attention to the speaker's tone, emphasis, and intonation when delivering certain phrases. While we discussed this in Episode 1 for general comprehension, it is particularly relevant for identifying main ideas. A speaker might slow down, speak louder, or pause before stating a crucial point, using vocal cues to signal its significance. For instance, if a speaker says, "And this is absolutely vital," followed by a statement, that statement is almost certainly a main idea. These nonverbal and prosodic cues are powerful indicators of what the speaker considers most important, even if they do not explicitly use a phrase like "the main point."
A highly proactive and beneficial mental strategy is to practice mentally summarizing as you listen. As a speaker completes a thought or a short segment, take a brief moment to silently ask yourself, what was the main idea of that last minute of speech? Try to condense it into 1 or 2 sentences in your mind.
This continuous mental summarization forces you to actively process and synthesize information in real time, rather than just passively receiving it. It trains your brain to constantly search for the core message and to discard less important details. It is a self-correction mechanism that reinforces your comprehension.
If you find it difficult to summarize a segment, it indicates that you might have missed the main idea or that the information was unclear. This realization prompts you to refocus or, if possible, to re-listen to that section. This self-assessment is crucial for iterative improvement.
Remember that identifying the main idea is often an iterative process. You might form a hypothesis about the main idea early on and then refine it as the speaker provides more information. Be flexible and ready to adjust your understanding based on new incoming data. This dynamic approach is key to mastering the skill.
The importance of key details. Having thoroughly discussed the main idea, let us now shift our focus to its essential counterparts, key details. While the main idea provides the central message, key details are equally indispensable. They are the specific pieces of information that serve to support, explain, elaborate upon, and ultimately validate the main idea. Think of them as the building blocks that construct the overall understanding.
Without key details, a main idea can remain vague, unconvincing, or simply unproven. For instance, if a speaker says, "Climate change is a serious threat," that is a main idea, but without specific details like rising global temperatures, melting ice caps, increased frequency of extreme weather events, or scientific consensus, the main idea lacks substance and credibility. The details provide the evidence.
The ability to extract key details is crucial for several reasons. Firstly, details provide clarity and precision. They flesh out the main idea, making it more specific and easier to grasp. If someone tells you they had a bad day, that is a main idea. But the key details, my car broke down, I missed a deadline, I had an argument, provide the necessary clarity for understanding.
Secondly, key details are vital for evidence and justification. In academic discussions, debates, or persuasive arguments, the main idea is often an assertion. The key details are the facts, statistics, examples, and expert opinions that are marshaled to support that assertion, making it more compelling and believable. Discerning these details allows you to evaluate the strength of an argument.
Thirdly, understanding key details is fundamental for following instructions and procedures. If you are listening to directions, a recipe, or steps for assembling something, every specific detail, every number, every ingredient, every sequence is crucial for successful execution. Missing even one key detail can lead to a completely different outcome or a failed attempt.
Fourthly, details are essential for problem-solving and decision-making. When analyzing a problem, you need to identify all the relevant facts, symptoms, and contributing factors. These are your key details. Similarly, when making a decision, you must gather all pertinent information, including pros, cons, and potential outcomes, before arriving at a well-informed choice. This dynamic approach is key to mastering the skill.
Fifthly, for English language learners, discerning key details significantly enriches your vocabulary and understanding of context. Details often involve specific nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs that are closely related to the main topic. Paying attention to these provides you with opportunities to learn new words in a meaningful context, reinforcing their usage and meaning.
Key details can take many forms. They can be statistics, like 75% of the population, dates or times, like on July 15th at 3 p.m., names of people or places, like Dr. Anya Sharma or the city of Kyoto, examples, like for instance or such as, reasons, like because, due to, or steps in a sequence, like first, next, and finally. Each serves a specific purpose in supporting the main idea.
Strategies for Identifying Key Details, Part 1. Signal Words and Categories. Now that we have established the paramount importance of key details, let us explore effective strategies for pinpointing them accurately in English spoken. Just as with main ideas, speakers often provide signal words and phrases that alert listeners to the presentation of important supporting information. Learning to recognize these signals is a powerful tool.
Listen carefully for phrases that introduce examples or illustrations. For example, for instance, such as, to illustrate this point, or let us consider an example. These phrases explicitly tell you that a specific detail is about to be presented to clarify or support a preceding point.
Pay close attention to words that introduce reasons or causes. Because, since, due to, as a result of, or the reason for this is. These indicate that the speaker is providing a specific explanation or justification for something previously stated. Understanding these connections is vital for logical comprehension.
Look out for phrases that introduce effects or consequences. Therefore, consequently, as a result, this led to, or the outcome was. These phrases signal that the speaker is detailing the direct or indirect results of a particular action, event, or situation.
When listening to instructions or processes, be highly attuned to sequential or numerical indicators. First, second, next, then, finally, in addition, moreover, furthermore, or also. These words help you track the order of steps or the addition of distinct pieces of information.
Beyond signal words, learn to categorize the type of detail you are hearing. Is it a statistic, a name, a date, an example, a reason, a step, or a description? Mentally categorizing details helps you organize them and relate them back to the main idea they support.
For instance, if a speaker is discussing the benefits of exercise, main idea, and then says, for example, running for 30 minutes significantly reduces stress by 25%, you would categorize running for 30 minutes as an example and 25% as a statistic supporting the main idea.
Practice listening for specific types of information based on the context of the main idea. If you know the topic is historical, you should actively listen for dates, names of historical figures, and specific events. If the topic is scientific, listen for names of studies, researchers, and experimental results. Anticipation enhances your ability to spot details.
Another key aspect is to pay attention to specific descriptors. If a speaker is describing a place, listen for adjectives that provide specific details about its appearance, size, or atmosphere. If they are describing a process, listen for the specific verbs that denote actions. These descriptive words are often crucial details themselves.
This active searching for specific types of information based on the context of the main idea ensures that your listening is purposeful. You are not just waiting for information, you are actively predicting and hunting for the crucial details that paint the full picture. This approach enhances both efficiency and accuracy in comprehension.
Strategies for identifying key details. Part 2. Active note-taking and questions. Continuing with strategies for extracting key details, active note-taking is an exceptionally powerful tool, especially for longer listening passages such as lectures, webinars, or presentations. As we discussed in Episode 1, note-taking is not about capturing every word, but rather about capturing the essence and the critical supporting points.
When taking notes for key details, focus on brevity and keywords. Use abbreviations, symbols, and short phrases instead of full sentences. For example, instead of writing, "The percentage of people who agreed was 75%, you might write, "Agree, 75%. This allows you to keep pace with the speaker while recording essential information.
Consider using a structured note-taking system. The Cornell note-taking method, for instance, involves dividing your page into 3 sections: a main note-taking area, a smaller cue or question column on the left, and a summary section at the bottom. This structure helps you organize main ideas and their supporting details effectively.
In the main note-taking area, you would jot down the key details as they are presented. In the cue column, you could write questions that the details answer or keywords that trigger the recall of those details. This organization promotes active processing during listening and facilitates review later.
Another highly effective mental strategy is to constantly ask yourself clarifying questions about the main idea as you listen. If the main idea is, X is a problem, mentally ask, what are the specific symptoms of X? Who is affected by X? Where does X occur? When did X start? Why is X a problem? How can X be solved?
These who, what, where, when, why, and how questions act as mental prompts that guide your listening. They direct your attention to the specific types of details that are most likely to support or explain the main idea. This proactive questioning helps you to anticipate and recognize relevant information.
For instance, if a speaker mentions a new policy was implemented, a general statement, your mind should immediately trigger questions like, what is the policy? Detail. When was it implemented? Detail. Who implemented it? Detail. Why was it implemented? Detail. And how does it work? Details.
Practice visualizing the information as you listen. If the speaker is describing a process, try to imagine each step unfolding. If they are describing a place, try to picture it in your mind. This visualization engages another part of your brain and can help you to remember intricate details more effectively than simply processing words.
Furthermore, leverage the power of repetition in your practice. If you are listening to a recorded audio, do not hesitate to pause and replay sections, especially if you suspect you missed a crucial detail. Repeated listening allows you to pick up on nuances and specific pieces of information that you might have overlooked during the initial listen.
This repeated listening should be active. Do not just play it again passively. Actively focus on listening for the specific type of detail you might have missed. For example, I missed the date. I will listen again specifically for the year this event occurred. This targeted approach makes your practice far more efficient and effective.
A crucial challenge in active listening is effectively differentiating between main ideas and key details. Sometimes a particularly interesting detail can overshadow the main point, leading to confusion or a skewed understanding of the overall message. It is essential to train your ear to distinguish between the two.
One way to think about it is this. The main idea can generally stand alone and still make sense as the core message. The details, however, usually make more sense when viewed in relation to that main idea. They typically cannot stand alone as the central message. They expand upon something.
For example, regular exercise promotes overall health is a main idea. Running for 30 minutes 3 times a week improves cardiovascular health and reduces stress are key details. While the details are informative, they serve to support the broader main idea about exercise and health.
A common pitfall for many listeners, especially language learners, is getting lost in the details. They try to understand every single word and every single fact, and in doing so, they miss the forest for the trees. This often leads to feelings of overwhelm and frustration, hindering overall comprehension.
To avoid this, always keep the overall topic and purpose in mind. If you are starting to feel overwhelmed by an influx of specific facts, take a mental step back. Remind yourself, what is the speaker's core message here? How do these facts relate to that main point, or are they perhaps tangential?
Another common pitfall is premature judgment or forming conclusions too quickly. Sometimes, a listener will latch on to an early statement or detail and assume it is the main idea, only to find later that the speaker shifts focus or presents a more nuanced central argument. Be patient and allow the speaker to fully develop their thoughts.
Additionally, distractions, both internal and external, remain significant obstacles. Internal distractions include your own thoughts, worries, or planning your response. External distractions could be background noise or visual stimuli. As discussed in Episode 1, actively minimizing these is fundamental for both main idea and detail extraction.
A particularly insidious internal distraction is waiting for your turn to speak. When your mind is focused on what you are going to say next, you are not truly open to absorbing the incoming information, making it very difficult to pick out either the main idea or the crucial details. Practice delaying your response.
To refine your ability to differentiate, engage in practice exercises where you are specifically asked to identify both. Listen to a short audio clip, write down what you believe to be the main idea in one sentence, and then list 3 to 5 key details that support it. This forces you to make the distinction consciously.
Review your practice results.
If your details do not directly support your identified main idea, or if your main idea is too specific, sounding more like a detail itself, then you know where you need to refine your listening focus. This critical self-assessment is essential for improvement.
Practical application, review, and long-term practice. To consolidate your learning and truly master the skill of listening for main ideas and key details, consistent practical application and a systematic approach to review are absolutely essential. This is not a theoretical exercise. It is a practical skill to be honed.
Start by integrating these strategies into your daily English listening. Whether you're watching a news broadcast, listening to a podcast for entertainment, or engaging in a conversation with a friend, make a conscious effort to identify the main idea and a few supporting details. Apply the who, what, where, when, how questions mentally.
For structured practice, choose a new English podcast episode or a segment from a documentary. Listen to it once for the overall main idea. Then listen a second time, specifically trying to identify 3 to 5 key details that support that main idea. You can even try to mentally or physically note them down.
If transcripts are available, use them strategically. First, listen without the transcript to test your pure auditory comprehension. Then listen again while reading the transcript, verifying your understanding of the main idea and checking if you correctly identified the key details. This comparison is invaluable for identifying areas for improvement.
Consider joining an online discussion group or a language exchange program where you can actively practice listening and then summarize what you have heard. Being able to articulate the main points and relevant details of another person's message is the ultimate test of your comprehension.
Do not be afraid to make mistakes or to miss information. This is a natural part of the learning process. The key is to learn from those instances. If you missed a main idea, reflect on why. Was the speaker unclear? Was I distracted? Did I fail to recognize a signal phrase? This reflection is where true growth occurs.
Furthermore, regularly switch up your listening materials. Listen to different speakers with different speeds and different accents. This diversity will challenge your ability to extract main ideas and details in varied contexts, making your listening skills more robust and adaptable.
Your ultimate goal is to move beyond simply hearing words to truly understanding the message and its supporting evidence. This level of comprehension empowers you to engage more deeply, learn more effectively, and communicate more clearly in English. It is a stepping stone to advanced fluency. Thank you for joining us on this comprehensive exploration of listening for main ideas and key details. We trust that the strategies shared today will significantly enhance your ability to extract the essence from any spoken English communication.
Join us next time as we shift our focus to the equally important skill of speaking, where we will explore strategies for developing fluency, accuracy, and confidence in your spoken English.
Until then, keep listening actively, keep extracting those crucial insights, and keep moving forward on your English proficiency journey. Farewell.
Goodbye for now.